You're right, guys, and welcome to the latest episode of Muscle Owl Talks. I'm here today with Ravi Mehta, who's been on many shows before, back when we did the audio podcast on iTunes, which we still do, but video these days. And we're joined today by Diana Ribeiro. You right, Diana?
Yes, I'm really well, thank you. It's my first Muscle Hour, so really great to join you both.
It's wonderful. We're really excited. And Diana's CEO of Action Duchenne, a fabulous charity here in the UK. So she's going to be talking to us, over the coming weeks and months about the wonderful work that Action Duchenne are doing, but also some of the top science that's going on and the research and some of the treatments that are coming through for Duchenne muscular dystrophy in the UK, US, and everywhere else. So really exciting times. So today we were going to discuss something called EAMS, EAMS, the Early Access to Medicines Scheme. Ravi, you were going to ask some questions, maybe questions that we all have in the community, to Diana, and hopefully we're going to find out, some more about the scheme.
Great. Hi, Diana.
Hi, Ravi.
So I'll just make it's kind of a basic question because I don't really know much about it, but what is EAMS and how do they go about doing things?
I know it's a very good question, Ravi. So the Early Access to Medicine Scheme is basically something that the government introduced in 2014 by the MHRA, which is the Medicines, Health and Regulatory Agency, so the national agency that regulates new drugs and medicines, but also clinical facilities. And they worked in it with European Medicines Agency. So they really felt that for rare diseases, they wanted to give early access to patients for new medicines that had a perceived good benefit risk for those where there was an unmet need. So it was really kind of a very novel scheme back in 2014. And we recently had some good news for the first drug called Raxone for Duchenne muscular dystrophy.
So how does the EAMS kind of go around NICE, and also, with Raxone, how would someone like me be able to kind of access that kind of drug? So
the EAMS scheme, I will try not to use any acronyms. So the Early Access to Medicine Scheme is really just to give, it's just an early decision just to give early access for a limited time frame, which is a maximum of 12 months. It's independent to the decision made by NICE. So NICE is the National Institute for Clinical Excellence, and they make the decision for reimbursement by all drugs which have been given marketing authorization in England. So the two are separate, because the EAMS scheme is just if the company applies to the MHRA and it's given a first, what's called a PIM designation. It's a promising innovative medicine, and then the MHRA think about whether it has a good benefit to risk ratio and whether there is a clear unmet need in that disease area, and just to give early access. It's independent of the NICE process.
So just to be clear, it would lie kind of after the EMA approval and kind of before the NICE process, while we're maybe waiting for the NICE process.
Well, interestingly, EAMS can be given before EMA approval.
Wow.
Because based on, it's a separate, so the company has to apply separately, and it goes straight to the MHRA, and the MHRA give it a scientific opinion. So it does take a while, so they do assess it properly, and whether they make that decision, whether the benefits of the drugs outweigh the risks. And the first part in the process is called PIM. Don't we just love these acronyms? Promising Innovative Medicine Designation. Then if that's going to give a good pathway for the EAMS process. And then there is a final scientific opinion on the EAMS scheme. And then again, that can be done before the European Medicines Agency has given its marketing authorization. It's usually done I wouldn't say at a very early stage of the process, because they have to collect a lot of data. Even for the EAMS scheme, they will have to collect a lot of data to prove that it does have that benefit for the patients. But it can be before the EMA gives a decision for a marketing authorization.
And just in terms of when it would happen, when would a company be looking to get this approval? Would it be after phase 2? Could it be early as after phase 1 of a trial? Also, I guess in terms of then the approval process after that, could EAMS maybe count as a clinical trial in itself, or a sort of clinical trial?
Again, two very good questions. So the EAMS scheme that's the first question was about when can companies apply. So companies usually would apply probably depending on the disease area, but in rare diseases it will probably be around the phase 2. So late phase 1 or early phase 2. So in a phase 2 clinical trials, when you start to gather what dosage or what is the best for, and there's efficacy data in the phase 2 trial. So you look at what dosage is best, if there was significant benefit, clinical benefit. So probably at the phase 2. There have been instances where there has been on a very early phase 2, a late phase 1, but it's probably around the phase 2 mark. And if you think about the whole clinical trial development, it can go into phase 3 and phase 4, even in other disease areas. So it's quite early on in the process, and that's the whole aim around the early access to medicine scheme.
Would it also count as a clinical trial?
No. So the EAMS scheme is it's given a positive opinion by the MHRA for prescribers, so consultants, physicians, to prescribe early, up to 12 months. But it's not a clinical trial because it's really like an off-label use. Yeah. The legal basis in terms of where, if there's any safety issues or anything along those lines, lies with the physician. And they don't collect any efficacy data, really. It's just really to give early access and just to see if there's any kind of safety concerns, adverse events. So in the case of any adverse events, then there's a legal obligation for that to be reported to collected into a database.
Yeah.
So might we see more drugs coming out for adults with Duchenne?
Via this scheme?
Yeah.
So again, a very good question, Ravi. I think it's great. It was very innovative, and it's very exciting that it's the first drug for Duchenne. And I hope that there are lots of different potential treatment options for adults, and for the whole spectrum of adults. We're not just talking about the early adulthood, but beyond that as well, because there is that argument, as you said, there is that high unmet need. However, I think we have to also think about the context of EAMS. I think EAMS is great because it just gives early access. But what we have to do is we must collect more data in adults, teenagers and adults, and look at validating all the outcome measures. And so this will encourage more clinical trials, so you have more options as well.
Okay.
Was your question also about how an adult can get the drug as well, or?
Yeah, I mean, something like Vaxone, for instance, how would I be able to access that when it does come out?
Yeah, of course. Well, if you think about the context of EAMS, it's about the MHRA giving permission to the manufacturer to market the product early. So the manufacturer gives guidance to all the local consultants and physicians and pharmacies to prescribe this drug. And so it's really the physician and the consultant's responsibility. So what I would say to adults out there is have that appointment, talk to your consultant, not necessarily, it's about having that consultation with your physician and whether they feel that you would benefit from this drug, and whether you want to take it as well, because that's a decision. So this decision has for Raxona and perhaps for other treatments going through the EAMS scheme in the future. The decision-making process now, once the decision has been made from HRA, is actually with your consultant. So pick up the phone, say, look, I've heard about this. I really want to have this conversation as to whether you feel this will benefit me and what the risks are. And then at the end of the day, as an adult, is that decision made with the specialist, your consultant.
Okay.
Wonderful.
And then,
in fact, if I just add on to that, is it literally just, will the consultant then put it through the process, or is it an online application? How does it work from there?
They basically prescribe.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because obviously it is a process, and they have 2 or 3 stages, and in the later stages, once they're given that positive opinion, generally the manufacturers look at this eventuality that they might get a positive opinion. So they have to think about pharmacies processing, shipping to the clinical centres. And that's pretty much already in motion. So it is about having that conversation with your consultant.
Ravi, did you have a final question, Ravi?
Well, I don't want to sound like a newsreader, but I just have one little question. I know you said that EAMS kind of can get approval before EMA, European Medicines Agency, but I've heard that the EU are kind of insisting on them kind of moving out of London and going back to Europe to find a new home. So how would that affect EAMS if it does?
Oh gosh, you are full of really good questions this evening, Ravi. So the EMA, so that's the whole Brexit issue. So the headquarters, as you rightly said, is in London, and the EMA will move. And in fact, they put out a press release a while ago saying that they are looking for a new location to move within the European Economic Area. And the reason being is that the European Medicines Agency is a centralized procedure, but only for Europe. So for countries who are within the European Central Zone, so those who are within the European market and in the European Union. So as we are leaving and as we have triggered Article 50, they will have to move, and they are moving. They're in a very early process. There have been lots of countries who have bid for the EMA to basically sit within their country or different cities around Europe. We haven't found out where that will be yet, but really because the EMA is about a centralized procedure for countries who are within the European Union and the economic area. So yes, they will move. How will that affect the UK and the EAMS scheme? So I don't think it will affect the EAMS scheme, although there might be a change because it was really developed it was pioneered between the UK government, and the MHRA and the EMA. So in fact, it was really a pilot scheme that was developed a few years ago by the UK because they felt like they wanted to give promising, innovative medicines to those of a high unmet need. So I think in terms of the EAMS scheme, there won't be so much change. Where your question is a very good question, and I think it's on the forefront of lots of people's minds, is about how will it affect the UK and reimbursement and drug development. And that's a great question because we would no longer be part of the centralized process which the EMA does. So what we could do, and there are many different options being looked at by the UK government, by different bodies. What we probably will do is that obviously we've got our own national agency, which is the MHRA, and perhaps an option being looked at, which is yet to be confirmed, is they would have to take a greater role in looking at kind of national marketing authorization procedures and, bring that to the EMA. But they already play such a great role in the EMA process already. And there is the question about the actual procedure itself, because Ravi, as you probably know, and others may know, is that there are different committees within the EMA process who involve those who are living with conditions and can give evidence and provide a review dossiers and provide opinions. And that's really important part of the process of EMA. And that's not something that the MHRA has got involved in the past. So that's something that may be has to be looked at, which I believe probably is behind closed doors at the moment, because that's not something we would want to lose, because that's so vital in making really informed and balanced decision about what's not only based on the data, but what's actually the difference that a drug is making on someone's life. And that's in fact the most important bit of the procedure. So I think that's the bit which I think everyone is waiting on the answer to, because we can be involved in that process, but we wouldn't necessarily have votes or rights in the EMA system in terms of that procedure and the final vote, because we're no longer part of the European Union. Sorry, it was quite a long-winded answer, Ravi. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely answer my question.
No, I think it's definitely important that we keep working together, regardless of what happens, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it'd be really interesting to see what happens. And, you know, because there's so many different bits and pieces which the UK government is working on, depending, obviously, there are changes politically, but there's the accelerated adaptive pathways. There is the industrial strategy. I think the life sciences sector is always seen as such a great poster child for the government, and it provides so much revenue, but also, you know, it's a great asset to our country. And so I think it will be looked at very carefully by the government, and it will be considered very carefully, because I think that is one of the priorities, and it should be. So I think everyone is waiting to see what will happen moving forward.
Absolutely. Wow. A wonderful episode, guys. We got through, well, EAMS and what it was, and even on to what maybe happen with all the Brexit things as well. Certainly looking forward to more of these chats to come. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. And well, if you've any questions, leave a comment below, get in touch, send us an email, and hopefully we'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.